Hey, this is Eric and Stephanie with Productivity Advocates, and this is another segment of what comes out of a mechanic's mind as a master's degree in industrial and organization. And Stephanie has history with analytics and business analytics, so it's a great pairing. So today we are talking about how people track productivity. Um, Super interesting because a lot of the people that I talk to and interview about this, they're like, "Oh yeah, we track productivity and we're good." Honestly, out of probably 30 to around 30 companies that I've interviewed in the last year and a half, two have been able to actually show their numbers and prove that they are productive. Others, there's one that they have a productivity counter in their break room that they show if they're in their red, then they're under productivity. If they're in the black, they are. I talked to a person that worked there for 6 years and they have never seen it in positive productivity ever. And it's like, are the leaders honestly rubbing that into the face? Do they not, like we talked about last time, talk about accountability? It's a top-down approach productivity needs to be, because if you look at my analogies always go back to cars. If you look at a driver and the driver doesn't keep a good eye on the gauges and the gas gauge, the car runs out of gas, is it the passenger seat or the passenger's fault, or um, is it the driver's fault? Well, the passenger shouldn't be watching the gas gauge. That's just something they shouldn't be doing compared to the driver. And so that's the great analogy for leadership. So tracking productivity, um, there's many different ways to be able to track productivity. And it sorry, there's hammering in the background. I am in a mechanic shop. Hopefully it's not coming over the over the oh over the microphone. So anyway, so one of the things I really want to talk about is why do leaders avoid looking inward towards the productivity issue? That's a huge problem. People always want to place blame on other people, but honestly, if you're an employee, uh, last time I talked about a employee that he worked for somebody that they felt like they were above God, and that's super sad. But at the same time, he's like, I'm not productive because I don't want to be. I'm not, in the right environment to thrive. I do the minimal that I need to, and it's good enough to keep the job, but I don't want to do more because of the leader. Imagine if you were in a coaching situation and you were a coach and you were an angry coach. What do you think your kids would do, Stephanie?
They would miss practice as much as they could. They would do the bare minimum.
Yep. And that's just part of what um yeah, it explains it. It's human nature. I mean, who wants to work for a leader and be productive and be efficient with somebody that has a bad attitude towards them or that, doesn't care about them? They're just it's just an interesting thing. And with all the sports and everything that we've been involved in over the years, there's been some coaches that I'm just like, you're just not leading to win, and then they get upset at the game, and it's um, a BYU football coach once said, "I can't." This is an exact, not exact quote, but this is just of it. He's like, if my players do something that I told them to do, and they tried to execute the play the way that I wanted them to do, and it didn't work out, it's not their fault. They did exactly what I said. I have to be accountable and I have to look at it. I'm the one that has all the information. I know everybody's positions. I know their strengths. I know everything. But if I lose a game and they're doing what I told them to do, then that's my fault. And he's taking 100% accountability for it. I'm like, oh my, that is awesome. So, so my wife is just doing some things with her mental health, and she didn't say this, but this is just kind of my perspective. And so it's nothing that she's told me or anything, but just stories from what she's said. But lately, she's been working with a lot of kids. And the interesting thing about it is parents will come in and tell the kids that, or tell the therapist, hey, my kids are having this issue. Well, have they ever thought about um, if they are the issue, if the parents are, and how they react to the kid and their situation? I actually talked with somebody, an acquaintance, a neighbor, and they're like, "Yeah, my kid keeps doing this," and the more that they told me about it, I'm like, "Well, what are you doing as a parent to help that little kid cope? This kid's about 8, and they're reacting adversely to a situation." And she kind of looks for a second, and I was like, she's like, "Do you think we need to take him to therapy?" I'm like, "If you do, I'd probably start looking at doing something for yourself as well to make sure that it's not you that's part of the problem. And it could be the kid's problem, but it could be the parent problem too." And like I say, I don't have any specific examples of it because, but it's something that I see. I do have a specific example. I just said it. But I look at my past and there's a lot of things my parents could have done differently and to help, give me advantages in life that they didn't. Am I holding it against them? Absolutely not. It's my life and I can change that now. But parents have a great opportunity just like leaders do. And so what are they doing to make the environment better? Do you have any situations in your sports that you've been able to change people's uh, attitude during the middle of a game?
Well, I know I've been able to change the girls' attitudes about the game before I started coaching where I'm at right now. The coach that they had was yelling at them all the time and getting after them, and she was letting the parents do the same thing. And there was a time we went to a tournament, and I was coaching a different team at that time. And one girl made a mistake, and the coach got after her, and her parents got after her, and then her team got after her. And she just was bawling. In the middle of a game, they didn't pull her out. She just was bawling and trying to play and do better. And then I came in and I put my foot down. I'm like, you will not disrespect your teammates. Coach or parents need to stay out of it. I actually have a rule that athletes aren't allowed to look at their parents during games. They're supposed to look at me and their team and no one else because I'm the one who's supposed to be coaching. And that's made a positive adjustment to the attitudes that all the girls have about the sport.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, parents try to get involved with um hold on one second. All right. Sorry about the hammering once again. Hopefully it'll stop. Um yeah, the wrong people coming in and giving the wrong opinion in a leadership position is an interesting dynamic because everybody has an opinion. Does the opinions always count? And do we need to do anything with it? Um, so, all right, let's get back on track. Okay, let's talk about leadership's resistance with diagnosing productivity issues. Super interesting because once again, they will not take blame for their troubles. If you as a coach, and we already talked about that, but sorry, I'm just not on my game today. That's super interesting. Human vulnerability. Let's talk about that for a minute. Different distractions and everything that comes along in play. Productivity, there's so much things that can have influence on productivity. It's crazy the amount of um, especially mental health. Some days you just don't have it. Some days things don't just go right, and they need to take a break. We had a mechanic yesterday that was getting quite upset at a vehicle. He decided to just take off. I want him to do that because I had mechanics in the past that they wouldn't take off, and then all of a sudden they start breaking things. They don't do the job right. They cost more trouble than not. Think about if a leader comes in and says, you know what, you're not being productive and you're right in the middle of a project. Is that going to really inspire them to work harder and to be able to have the right mindset to complete it in a timely manner and complete it right? No. That puts people in fight or flight mode. And as I was a firefighter and EMT, there's a lot of people that love to escalate the situations. But you're in an emergency situation. It's super easy to do. But when I was on scene, I would try to the best of my ability, keep people calm because the more that you excite people, the higher the blood pressure gets. If they're bleeding, if they're already being traumatic, then that totally escalates the situation. So if a leader comes in and is like, well, you need to be more productive. You're not doing this and this and this. It's not going to help the situation. So be careful on how you approach the different situations in productivity. It's more being servant type. There's a great book out that is done by Gary Ridge, and the name of it is Any Dumbass Can Do It. Love the title. And honestly, the dumbass part of it is true. People need to humble themselves, especially leadership, and understand that they are the problem and they definitely could be the problem. And they got to take the time to be accountable for it uh, and not be resistant because they're the ones that are holding it back. So let's talk about how leaders can actually see if they're doing a good job and being productive as a leader. Surveys totally help, but there's also other things that could be effective. And it's about revenue, it's about output. There's some leaders that they're like, we have enough money in the bank and we're doing the best that we can. That's all we have. We don't have time to track productivity. It's like, interesting. Um, I have a good friend that's in she does fractional CFO work, and she wants people to organize their books, and they're like, nope, just make sure that we've got money in the bank. And it's like, oh, that would be super helpful to know exactly where you're at and where your profits are coming from, and give you a lot of other metrics to be able to figure out if you are being effective um, as a corporation. Another story I've got about somebody that I interviewed is they were so proud of themselves because they were at 130% of their productivity rate according to the metrics of their organization. This person was so proud because they said, I get in and I bust my hump for about the first 3 hours of work, and that's about it. So out of an 8 hour day, I'm working about 3 hours. And according to them, I'm at 130% of the efficiencies. It's like, wonder what they're tracking and and if they're being profitable in that and they want their employees to be able to take that much time off, great. I don't know all the information about it, but this person was very proud that they only work that much. And I'm just like, huh, okay, you know, good for you. So, all right.
No, I am curious on the baseline that they're measuring at if he's getting all his work done in 3 hours.
Yeah, and what his responsibilities are, because I didn't get that either, you know.
Yeah.
So as a leader, why is it important to just listening to the tracking numbers and to have all that information? I mean, could you imagine driving a car not having gauges, not knowing what your speed limit, your speed is, not knowing where your gas is? I've driven plenty of cars that have overheated, and some have lights and some have gauges. Um, if you don't look at those things, eventually that car is just going to stop. And what if you ignore them? I had a customer once that they had so many different sights coming from their car. Their check engine light was on, their fluid was leaking, the car was even steaming, and they went on about a 40-mile round trip, Aaron, and about 35 miles into it, the car died. Why did the car die? They said, and they wanted to blame the car. And it's like, well, what was going on? Well, it was leaking, it was steaming, check engine light was flashing,
Hmm.
and it started making noise. And then it just stopped. I need my car. And I'm like, well, you burned up your engine for one. I believe it was just a very small fix, like a hose that was actually leaking antifreeze, and they ended up overheating it and causing all sorts of trouble. And then they blamed the car. Well, the car was talking to them. The car was given every bit of information that they could. What are leaders not seeing with employees? I mean, they have employee burnout. They have employee, mental health. I mean, mental health is a huge factor. I was talking to an HR director a couple months ago, and they have about 3,000 employees, I think. And just within her section of HR, she at least has 2 to 3 people a week coming in with mental health issues. What are those mental health issues, personal or business? I don't know. But if you were able to create the right work environment that people really would love to come in and feel good about who they are, that would change their outlook out at home. You spend 70% of your day in the work environment. And on a working day, obviously not on weekends, but that 70% could affect the rest of your night and change your whole perspective. What are leaders doing to help do that?
But imagine if you enjoyed going to work and you didn't dread it at all. Imagine how it would affect your quality of life.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. And I mean, part of it does have to come from the individual. Individuals have to look at the workspace as a positive and to see it. Some people are inherently negative and they're never going to see it. And it could be on the individuals. I'm not going to say it's just a leadership or culture, but if a leader is truly trying to create the right work environment and the employee isn't, then they need to look inward. Um, one of the companies that I interviewed, uh, to their productivity rate, the leader, they have about 70 employees, and their leader interviews every employee every quarter. And they want to know exactly how they feel. They want to know if they're excelling in in their roles and responsibilities, if they need to change them to um, a different job within the organization. Their turnover is maybe one a year, the leader told me, and it was mostly because they would move out of town or that they got pregnant or had some medical. It's very rare that anybody left this environment because the leader honestly wanted to know their, you know, their attitudes towards work. And I asked him, I was like, where did this all stem from? He's like, when I started in corporate America after my master's degree, people were just so worried about numbers, and I ended up going into the bathroom crying because they just did not care about people. And he's like, I made a pact that if I ever start a business, I would never ever look over the people. And he didn't. He doesn't still. He has a great work environment. And so it's um, he truly cares about his workplace. So I said this quote last time in the podcast. Aristotle said, pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. I mean, how more simple could it be? And in modern workplaces, the more that I talk to people, the more people are just worried about numbers and spreadsheets and the data instead of the person. And that's sad because uh, a, a leader, religious leader said once, don't ever let a task needs to be done be more important than a person. Something to that effect. And sometimes we do that. I do that. I'm like, no, I'm right in the middle of this task. No, that person, if they need you, they need the time to to get things, to get them taken up. So let's talk about childhoods and how they could be, uh, how they could affect the person in the work environment. Um, my father recently passed away, and I realized something that through the um, through the funeral services, I have an older brother that's actually a step brother that's not my brother's, or that's not, and my dad's kid. It was from a previous marriage of my mom. And when he was talking about my dad, this brother's 20 plus years older than I am. When he was talking about my dad helped him to get his Eagle Scout by the time he was 15 years old. He helped him get his first job. He helped him to learn a lot of different things as he was growing up. Well, my dad didn't do any of that for me, and I'm not blaming, and I'm not saying that it's um, hindered me in any way because my life is my life, and I choose the circumstances and the outcome that I want, and I don't hold the past against them. But if a parent or a leader is doing things right, they actually give the employee or the child a total advantage in life because they're teaching them their work experience, they're teaching them their skills, they're teaching them to be patient. There's so many different aspects that come along with giving an advantage as a leader to your family or to your work environment, because that's what we honestly need to do, is to create the right working in the right working environment. The Dalai Lama has a quote that says, let me try and find it real quick. All right. It says something to the fact of our jobs as people are to help others, basically, actually, the other good quote is, as you help somebody to the top of a hill, you'll find yourself there as well. Our job is to be able to help people with their problems and needs, especially in leadership role. But if you think about it, and if you believe in God and the Bible, um, love thy neighbor as thyself. And that's a huge, um,
Well,
okay,
and sorry.
go ahead.
In Gary Ridge's new book, he talks about how from the beginning of time that we built this sense of um, community or like a tribe. So we're there to help each other out, and we're not supposed to be doing things alone.
No, and we are a tribe and we are a team. And if we don't continue to do that, we're letting other people down and we're not doing it. We're not helping society. That quote is our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them out, at least don't hurt them. You know, I pass by people that have need spare tires changed because they have a flat tire. This one lady, this was a month or two ago, stopped. She had all the tools out, and so I saw that she was an older lady, and she was just kind of standing there. And so I just stopped. I'm like, "Hey, can I hurry and change that for you?" She's like, "Oh, I totally appreciate it." It turned out she was a crossing guard and got hit by a car in the crosswalk and dragged for 50 yards last year. And
Wow.
so her body is still healing. There's no way she could have changed that tire. She had everything ready, but she's like, I'm sorry, but my shoulder's still giving trouble. I'm like, oh, I'll help you in a heartbeat, you know? And we don't know their story. It took me 10 minutes out of my day. Oh, made me feel so good. Just doing that little simple act of changing the tire and getting her back on the road. This made me feel awesome. I didn't know that she got hit by a car as a crossing guard last year. I didn't know any of her circumstances. So that's the thing about it is it's like as we're trying to develop productivity within the workplace, and if we can help others, it is a big opportunity that we don't always know what somebody else is going through. We really don't. And we shouldn't honestly judge that. But a lot of people love to take advantage of other people because of their own insecurities. And it's really kind of a sad place when they do that. Because, I think that's what a lot of leaders do. They assume, oh, I'm giving you all these paychecks and I'm giving you all this money. Well, there's a lot more to just being in uh just getting a paycheck. There's a whole work experience that can help and drive work productivity. And you know what? When you do as a leader take care of another person, it's amazing how much they engage in the work and they do the best they can. I mean, just like our slogan, maximizing ROI on your greatest investment, people. And we honestly believe that is true because people are your greatest investment. It gives you the greatest opportunity to help people to thrive in life. Surgeon General says by 2030, depression is going to be the number one health problem. What if you could change how your work environment is to be able to change people's attitude toward themselves and help with build their skills, abilities, talents, education, and utilize all that. So there's definite payoff monetarily as well as emotionally for your employees to track productivity and to do it effectively and have the right attitude as it goes along. All right. Kind of gone through a lot of stuff and I'd still go back to that Dalai Lama quote. Lama. I, I'm sorry, I'm probably Dalai Lama, getting a little tongue-tied. Our prime purpose in this life is to help others, and if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. Wow, that is just a good thing to end on, and I'd love to, you know, just say leaders, look at the opportunity that you have to really help people in the workplace by tracking productivity, uh, making it a productive work environment, and do it in the right way. Pride in the workplace. Let's just think about this, and maybe we'll do our next podcast on it. Is there a reason for pride and anger in the workplace, or anger and intimidation? I don't believe there is. And as people do utilize that and to tear people down. And once again, detracts from productivity. So everybody, if they're listening, go out and do something good for somebody. It's amazing the feelings that come along with it and be positive. Life is really good. Have a great time.